Welcome to your pre-trip webinar for our Costa Rica adventure. I see we've got our host Martine here. We're going to wait for a couple more folks to join us, and then we'll get started. Martine, you can hear me okay?
Yep, hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. Glad to hear it. So yeah, as I say, we'll get started at 11:30 Eastern time sharp. 8:30 for anybody joining us from the West Coast, and then we'll get started because I'm sure you're excited with all of the snow and nasty weather in various parts of Canada. I'm sure you're dreaming already about your trip to Costa Rica. Turn on the light here, so there we go, a little bit more light on the subject. Perfect. So yeah, it just turned 11:30. And yeah, I think we've got a fair number of our group here. Of course, this webinar, like all of our webinars, will be recorded. So if you are not able to attend live, maybe you're watching the replay of this. Let's get started. So our agenda today on our webinar is as follows. We should be able to get through this in about 30 minutes or so. We don't want to take too much of your time. You might have snow to shovel. I'm just kidding. But first of all, I'm going to introduce your host, Martine. Second of all, we're going to talk about what you need to know to get ready for this trip next month to get the most out of it. And Martine's going to share with you a little bit about what's going to happen when you arrive in San Jose, the capital of Costa Rica. And we're going to touch on a few things of the itinerary. We are not going to go through the itinerary in great detail, but Martine will sort of give you a couple of the highlights or things that you should know or take into consideration again, so that you can prepare yourself in the best way possible to enjoy this trip. And at the very end, we will answer any questions that you have. That's maybe the most important part of the webinar. You can put questions in at any time. You can do that by scrolling either to the bottom or top of your screen, depending on what version of Zoom you're using. And you'll find a chat box, which in fact, I'm going to make sure that everybody can access. Yeah, okay, good. This is the chat. Yep, great. Thanks, Martine. So you can put your questions either in the chat box or in the Q&A box. Doesn't matter to us. It's all the same. And we will answer, hopefully, any questions that you have. So first of all, I want to introduce your wonderful host, Martine, who is, Martine, you're in Costa Rica now, are you not? Or are you back in Canada? I can't keep track. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was saying how cruel it was about the shoveling. No,
Yeah.
yes, I'm in
Cool
Costa
for you
Rica.
because you spend most of your time in Costa Rica or down in Latin America somewhere, right?
I do. I avoid the cold like the plague. Yeah.
Exactly. So Martine has hosted this trip for us many times. This is one of our most popular trips in the winter. Well, because it's Costa Rica, it's warm, it's tropical, but this is not the Costa Rica, and that's why you signed up for this trip, that you'll find in the travel agency brochures, because this exposes the whole other side of Costa Rica, this ecological wonder. And Martine is going to tell you all about it. In fact, she's the expert. I'm just here to sort of press buttons and move the slides along. No, I'm kidding. But Martine is
Great job.
Martine is truly the expert in Costa Rica, and again, we always get wonderful feedback about her and her various teams and partners. So, do we need to say anything more about you, Martine? No, they're going to find out all about you.
You flattered me enough. You flattered me enough.
Excellent. So Martine is
I'll tell you all about myself when we're together, sipping over margaritas or anything.
Exactly. That's the better time to get the life story. Just a word about Martine. Well, actually, in this case, so our hosts in general are not local guides, and Martine is not a local guide either, per se, in the sense that you've got your naturalists and all these really real experts. But in fact, Martine, well, I mean, you've spent so much time there and you've done this trip and you know these places like the back of your hand. You really are almost like a local guide, in addition to being our wheel and anchor host.
Yeah,
So
basically guiding is a protected profession here in Costa Rica. So I'm really your host, but I will be adding so many, extra details that maybe the guide may not even know about. So I'll be introducing you really to the real Costa Rica, the things that people may not even notice that it's Costa Rica, but because we are from Canada, we can see the differences. So I'll be pointing those out. It'll be really interesting for you to see that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Martine adds really a special touch on this trip. So let's get right in on into the pre-trip preparation and sort of all those things that you need to know. Obviously, first and foremost, you need to just make sure that you've got your passport handy, particularly if you're traveling for the holiday season or something, and well, and then you'll need your passport anyway. But just make sure that is where you know it to be. But luckily there's no visa requirement, there's no special requirements. If you got your passport, you're basically good to go. We always suggest that you make a photocopy of it, or at the very least make a copy with your phone, just in case, because the best place for your passport once you get to Costa Rica, into the various lodges and hotels, is in the safe. There's no need to take it with you. Obviously, you have to, take it from place to place, but you don't need to take it during the day. In fact, that's the last thing you'd want to take when you're in a tropical, humid, wet environment like Costa Rica. But apart from that, there's not really any other documents that you need for this trip. So the more important thing to talk about is what to pack, because this is always a question. This is tropical, but there's more to it than that. And so, Martine, I'm going to defer to you because
Yeah,
you're there and you know the best way how
that
people,
is my
what they
expertise,
bring and what they
packing.
shouldn't bring. Yeah, exactly. So I'll let you dive in.
Okay, well, basically, in a nutshell, we'll be going to different ecosystems. Costa Rica in itself has over 12 different ecosystems. We'll be doing a few of those. We'll be going up in elevations and then right down to, right at the ocean level. So we're going to be dealing with various temperatures. What I recommend is to dress like an onion. When I say that, I mean in layers. So you really want to bring layers. You definitely want to have clothes that are wicking away the moisture, things that dry rapidly. So, mixing, matching clothes. You don't want to bring any thick jeans, thick cottons, definitely no big, thick socks. But at the same time, you'll want something warmer for the upper elevations when we go to Savegre. So in the morning, when we do our bird tour to see the quetzals, it can get quite cold to the point where I will wear a toque and gloves. So it depends what time of year. And at this time of year in January, it's very windy in San Jose. And then as we go up into the elevations, it's cooler. So definitely bring whatever you will wear to go to the airport is probably what you're going to wear in the, in that environment. But as soon as we go down in elevations at the area where we're going to Rio Chiripo, this is a perfect weather. This is what they say is the most perfect weather on earth. So we'll have cool evenings where you might need just a little bit of a jacket or something, but warm days. And then as we go even lower into really ocean level, this is where it gets hot and humid. So this is where you don't need any extra layers. And you'll actually be very pleasantly surprised that there's not a lot of biting insects, unlike in Canada. So you don't have to worry about covering up completely. That said, you'll definitely want to wear maybe a light trouser, a light pant, something like that, maybe a long sleeve, but very, very light, or one of those like buttoned up shirts that you just put over if you are concerned about insects. But otherwise, this is more or less the idea. Keep it, not too heavy either, because we do have a restriction on your flight at the end, which is 40 pounds. And not that they're completely that strict, because we do balance out within the group, but you don't want to be arriving with a 50-pound, everyone with a 50-pound bag, because some of your bags will be delayed or will cost you more. So just think that way, so think fast drying. You want to bring mix and match, dress like an onion. And that's the most important. And then we can go into.
Yeah, that's the best advice. What about footwear? What's the best footwear for this?
Yeah. So no one, we're not dressing up, if you want to bring a nice dress or a nice, suit of some kind, you can, but we really are keeping it very casual. So for
Casual.
for the most important for shoes is for our hikes, you must have shoes that have a good grip on the bottom. Your toes must be covered. Okay. And really, they need to be able to get wet. We're actually not in Canada where it gets very cold. And when we're up in Savegre, we're not going to get our feet wet, but as we go down, we're going to get our feet wet in some cases. So you want to have basically a shoe, like think of a Tiva. Some people like the Tivas, or like a sandal and they cover the toe, but just know that, little rocks can get into that. So it'll be a fashion no, but wear some socks with those. And then bring an extra pair of shoes, for example, like Crocs or some good flip-flops, for around the property. But really the only shoe you need is a good hiking shoe that has some good grip, won't slip, toes are covered. And if you can get a fully closed one, they sell like Salomon, for example. There's all these different brands that they sell. If you go to Mech, for example, you can find some. They're called amphibian shoes. They go from land to water.
Yeah,
Yeah, rubber boots, don't
that's
bring rubber boots,
super super.
yeah.
And as you said, Mark, there's no fashion contest here. So,
No,
literally those two pairs of shoes should be all you need because you don't want to bring tons of stuff. There's no need for a third pair of shoes. If you have those, and then you got
yeah,
your walk around the property shoes, so you can let those dry out a bit at night if they do get a bit moist.
yeah.
And then I mean, my pro tip for this stuff, because I tend to have to carry a lot of shoes going to these different places, is put them in some kind of a shoe bag or something waterproof in case they are damp and you got to pack them into your suitcase. Then wet shoes, and you're like, I mean, of course, you can always get a plastic bag from the hotel if worse comes to worse, but those Ziploc bags, those bigger
Yeah.
ones that you can get them at Walmart or whatever that like Ziploc, and then it's in
Should have
there.
Ziplocs for every trip, I agree, Ziploc all the way.
Well, and that's one of my secret tips. I always say Ziploc bags. I got literally boxes of different sizes because you can just make packing cubes out of them. You can do so many different things with Ziploc bags.
Yeah, but you'll see that they dry very fast. You won't have a problem with
Yeah,
wet shoes. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You put them in the sun for half an hour and that's it. Boom, they're
Yeah.
dry.
Yeah.
A day pack is a good idea as well, right? Something very light, so for the
Yeah, everyone
layers and
should
stuff.
have a day pack because the day pack's going to be where you're going to put your water bottle, where you're going to put maybe your binoculars, maybe you're going to put a first aid kit, a little snack if you want. So you definitely want to have one of those. If you want to bring your own walking poles, I recommend just one. Don't bring more than one, and it has to be collapsible and you can pack it away. But for example, in some of the areas that we're going, most of the places that we're going actually will have walking poles for you if you want to borrow them. So you don't have to bring one, but if you want your own, you should do that. Then we're going to talk about like sunscreen. Sunscreen is very expensive in Costa Rica. So bring some sunscreen. If you're going in with a carry-on, no more than 100 milliliters, very important. You want to bring, for example, like I said, a small medical kit. What do you need, for example, if you, obviously we're going to talk about this a little later, if you have a cold or something, we definitely want to be masked if we're going in vehicles together. But you want to bring like the basic Advil, these kinds of things with yourself, because we won't be dispensing those. It's really important for you to bring that. Anything that you think you might need, if you have any allergies, of course, an EpiPen, these kinds of things. Because when we're out in, for example, especially when we're in the rainforest, we're away from about a 2-hour drive away from any medical, attention, in that area. But we do have all these other, if there was any kind of major emergency, we would have, a helicopter come in, etc. So I'm just saying, you want to just have your basic medical kits, Band-Aids, this kind of thing. Other than that, your personal, shampoo and all that, we have that in all the hotels. Dryers, hair dryers, curling irons, leave those at home, please. Mainly because a lot of the lodges we're going to, they are solar powered, so we don't have the ability to use these kinds of appliances. So your hair might look a little crazy, but that's okay. Again, just like your socks and your shoes, we're going to accept it. So just these kinds of, leave that at home. Technology, if you want to bring your computer, your iPad, these things, certainly you can. We have internet in all the hotels, but the humidity level can damage these things. So just be aware of that. If you have a CPAP machine, these kind of things, bring an extra extension cord just in case. And other than that, really, you just want to think of having anything that you may not have access to if you're really isolated. Make sure you have that. Otherwise, many of the things can be purchased still in Costa Rica, if that makes sense. And
Exactly.
a hat,
And
obviously.
we recommend you bring along a water bottle, which I was going to ask you at the very beginning. Did you get the water bottles, Martin?
It's been a feat to receive them from
All right.
Asia.
Well, hopefully
We hope
you'll
we
have a
have
nice Wheel
a
and
little,
Acre water bottle.
we hope you'll have a nice gift by the time you arrive. That's the goal. That's the goal.
That's it. That's an inside
And
joke,
if not,
Martin.
you may want to bring an extra just in case. It's not a bad idea to have 2 water bottles. That's my thought. Never have enough water. And the water is safe
Exactly.
to drink in the hotels. We have safe drinking water in all hotels. In San Jose, I recommend don't even brush your teeth with the water, just to be extra safe. I drink the water in San Jose. I'm fine, but I've been here for over 20 years. If you are very sensitive, do not brush your teeth with the water. Do not, and in the restaurants that we're going to go to, they're all using very clean water. And as we get into, for example, the OSA, we have better water here than we have in bottles. So I'm just saying, but definitely water is going to be a key thing that you need to keep hydrated.
Hydration is critical.
You don't
Let
want
me ask you two quick things. The plugs there, it's basically the same as North America for
to.
plugging stuff in, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't
So
need
you don't have to
anything
worry
different
about any special
for
adapters.
regular. That's right. That's
That's
right.
perfect. And what about binoculars? I mean, our birders, is if we have any
Yeah,
on the trip, will undoubtedly have their own. But for the sort of
yeah.
average person, what do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, here's the thing. If you're not a birder, you don't need binoculars because everything you'll be able to see so close to you. It's incredible. You're essentially coming into a zoo without cages. It's really amazing when we get to the OSA. And for example, when we're up when we're seeing the quetzals, we always have a scope. Our professional guides have scopes, so you'll be able to see that. But if you're someone that loves to bring binoculars, please bring your binoculars because we don't have
Okay,
spares. So you'll definitely want to bring that.
right.
Here's something I want to talk about. This is a personal fan. This is your own little
Oh,
fan you can put around your neck. If you're someone that overheats a lot, go on Amazon and just put neck fan, and they have different ones. This is the best one that I found, $15 on Amazon. It's rechargeable and it lasts 3 hours. So if you're someone that feels like, oh, I might be a little worried about the heat, definitely get yourself a neck fan. And this can even be used, like you can even sit it up and like put it on, next to you and stuff. So in the rooms, as we go in elevations, it's actually going to be cool at night, all the way to cold at night. Okay. And as we go down into elevations and we're going to see, in Luna Lodge, it's going to get warmer. But we do have access to fans there in your rooms, but there's no air conditioning. Okay. And again, because in the higher elevations, there's no need for air conditioning. And in the lower elevation, we're in an eco lodge. So we're off the grid. So really, if you can, bring a neck fan. You're going to have a fan in your room. You should be fine. We keep our center core cool, and you'll be happy that you're not in the winter. You're
You'll
not.
be happy. And it's a good point about the air conditioning, because I mean, it's in all of our documentation, but we've not had one single person who said anything about the fact that there's no air conditioning, because it gets cool enough at night. Honestly, you don't need it. I mean, that's
No.
my experience as well. So it's perfect. Okay,
Exactly.
good. Let's move on for a second. Let's talk a little bit about money and what they need. The currency in Costa Rica, the colon, but what do you say about money in terms of what they should bring? I mean, credit cards are good in the cities and in the hotels, but
Yeah.
what should people do?
I always tell people bring 250 US dollars in smaller bills. Think 20s, 10s, 5s, 1s if you can. Just have that on hand. That's for extra tipping if you feel like, oh, someone's gone above and beyond, and you're getting a taxi, or you see a market and you want to buy something in cash. The US is accepted widely across the country. You do not have to have the colones. The colones basically is the local currency. We gave you, I think you may have already received the conversions in the 300s Canadian, sorry, about $1 Canadian is about 300 some colones, gives you an idea. In US, if it helps you, I think it's 400 something equals $1 US. Anyways, we'll talk about that when you're here. It's a bit of a conversion nightmare, but essentially, if you have a Wise card or a credit card, and Wise is interesting because it helps you do conversions at a much better rate. So if you don't even want to get into it, don't worry about it. But Wise is really a good tool to have when you travel around the world. It just allows you to put money onto this platform. You put money into it, and then you can and it can convert automatically, or you can choose to put alerts and to find out when it's a better price, you can buy it. So let's say I know I'm going to Mexico next week, I could buy pesos when it's at a good rate, and I'll already have pesos. But also it does better conversion than most credit cards. But anyways, you can use credit cards in most anywhere you go. All the lodges accept credit cards. So if you're buying extra alcohol, if you're buying anything in the boutique, if you're getting massages, if you're doing any of those things, they can all be paid with your credit card, whether that's Wise or your regular credit card. It's a very safe system in Costa Rica, unlike other countries where you hear of a lot of people getting ripped off and things like that. Costa Rica is not like that. It's a very safe country. So feel comfortable with just your Visa or your MasterCard, and just have a little bit of cash on hand. And again, I recommend don't come with Canadian, come with US. And then if you want some colones, you go to any grocery store or store, buy a pack of gum, and you'll get some change in colones if you'd like, but you don't need it. I hope that helps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, good. I think that that's very well noted. And just on the gratuities, obviously you've prepaid for the vast majority of gratuities that you need in terms of anybody that you're going to meet along the way, the guides and so on and so forth. So the only gratuities that you might need to pay over and above what you've already covered is when you get picked up at the airport for the transfer driver, you might want to give them a couple of bucks, or if there's a bellboy in the hotel or something like that. But for the most part, you know, the gratuities are taken care of. And Martine, if you know, you can always turn to Martine if you got a question, like, oh, you know, should I give this person a couple of bucks? I mean, tips are always appreciated, but we
Yeah.
have looked after the vast majority that you would otherwise incur on
Your,
this
like
trip.
you say, your arrival in San Jose, just because it's you're all coming at different times. So if you
Yeah,
need assistance with your bag, you may want to give a little something to the person helping you, or like your driver, like you said. And once we get into the other hotels, the three main hotels, we're covering all that. We're helping you with your bags. All of this is covered. And again, if someone goes above and beyond, you want to thank them, they'll be very appreciative. Yeah.
exactly. That's all fine. Let's talk about
Mhm.
mobile communications for a second. So it is not essential to bring a phone on this trip. In fact, this is a good time to dial out and not be on a phone. There's Wi-Fi in all the hotels, as Martine pointed out. So you can bring your phone. A lot of people are using their phone as a camera, and that was a good reason to bring the phone.
Yes.
But on a separate note from that, if you do decide to bring your phone and to use it as a camera when you're out in the rainforest, I would either put it in a waterproof case or in a Ziploc bag or something like that, just because humidity, dampness, in case it should rain, you know, you want to obviously keep your electronics dry. But let's just talking about the phone. Um, if you want to use your phone for the internet, again, Wi-Fi is available at the hotels. When you are not in the hotels, when you're out in rainforest walks in the middle of the jungle, there's probably going to be no mobile signal anyway.
I'll have it. I'll have mobile signal. So if
Exactly.
there's
So
an
if you're in
issue,
a pinch, Martine will have it. You
yeah.
can of course roam with you know, your plans from home, but honestly, it's probably not even worth it. I would just turn your roaming off. And if you're desperate to be online at any given moment, you can of course get an eSIM card or you can buy a SIM card when you arrive, but this is one trip where honestly, not necessary. I wouldn't even worry about it. Um,
Yeah.
that being said, Telegram is important. So on all of our trips, we use Telegram as the app for communication. And Telegram is a messaging app which is works almost exactly the same as WhatsApp or Messenger or iMessage or any of them, right? We just use it because it's got some functionality and so on that is not used by others. And also, once you're done with the trip, nobody knows your information. You can just delete the app and you know you're completely you stayed completely anonymous on Telegram. It's another reason why we use it. Please do download the app, set it up. The instructions are all provided in your pre-trip information kit. There's a document, one page. Please read it, follow it. Very important. Set it up, send Martine a message on Telegram saying, hey, Martine, and just, you know, to let you know, let her know that you have already logged into Telegram. And, you know, quite honestly, and again, I see this on just the last two trips I've been on, is the most important time to have it is when you arrive. If there's a delay, or if you're, you know, if you're connecting through a city and there's a delay to the flight, you want to send a message to Martine. Telegram is the way to do it. Throughout the trip, you're going to be pretty close together all the time. So, you know, Martine may or may not use it for sort of daily announcements because, again, you're going to be in the same quarters in the same place the whole time. But it is an app we use to communicate messages to the group at one go, and it is very, very handy. So, again, my final word on that again is please download Telegram and get it set up. It's not that difficult. I promise you can do it, and you can always, if our instructions aren't clear enough, you can just Google or go to YouTube and say how to set up Telegram, and you'll get step-by-step instructions. So, yeah, I think
I'll
that's
just
all we need to.
add
Yeah,
something on that because it's fun. We've loved
sure.
using for is to share photos between each other. So there's two different, let's say there's two different groups. One group is me really talking to everyone, which is not where we're sharing so much back and forth. But another one is where you can really share like, oh, this was funny, or here's a video. And it's a great place to share those things as well, you know?
Yeah, and we have on that note about photos, we have our shared photo album in Google, which is where the best place to share the photos, because in Telegram, once the trip is done, it may be
Yeah,
gone, you may not have the photos. So we have our Google photo album, which is really amazing. And again, there's instructions on how to use that in your documentation. And guests really like it because that stays forever. Basically, you can always access those photos and the photos from the friends that you meet on the trip.
and we'll share that.
Let's jump into health protocols. I'll say a couple things, Martine. You can sort of fill in the gaps here. The most important thing I want to say about this is that, as Martine alluded to before, if you at any time feel ill, if you got a cough or a sneeze in particular, please let Martine know. Please bring a mask along. You can get them for a dime a dozen now these days. In confined spaces, particularly when we're traveling between the lodges, it's really important to wear a mask. And our members are really great about this. Everybody gets it. You know, you feel like, oh, I got a bit of a sneeze, or then it's just great because it just makes your fellow members feel comfortable that, you know, we're not spreading stuff around. It's flu season, so, you know, there's lots of stuff flying around. You're being on the airplane. So just please do keep that in mind. Another thing I want to say about this is, if you injure yourself in any way at any time, you know, you're walking along, you have a little minor trip and a fall or something like that, please let Martine know, because we take all injuries, even the minor ones, quite seriously. This is a tropical environment, and things can get in. So we just want to make sure that, but we need to know about it, and so there's no shame in saying, oh, I tripped or I fell out of bed.
Paper cut. You can have the
Happens
paper
to
cut.
me.
Let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, our trips are non-smoking. So if you're with the group, please don't smoke with the group. Obviously, at other times, the lodges will have the lodges, I imagine, are mostly non-smoking, but they probably have an area that's designated for anybody that does smoke. We don't have many members that smoke anymore, but just be mindful of that, as I'm sure you are. It's almost doesn't even need to be said. And I think that's about it. That's important. Yeah, is there anything else?
Oh, there's so many other things, but we'll keep it at this.
Yeah, exactly. I think
No,
those
no. I
are
mean,
the key.
at the end of the day, when you're all here with me, I'll be preparing you the day before, always for
Yeah,
the next. You always do that.
exactly. That's the most important thing. So fast forward a month, and to the point when you're going to be heading out to Costa Rica. Keep an eye on your email and on your messages on your phone for anything from the airline that might indicate a delay in the flight. If you do anticipate a significant delay, if a flight's going to be 15 or 20 minutes late, they'll know, because obviously they're tracking the inbound flight. But if you are coming from somewhere and you're connecting via the US or God knows what, however you're getting there, and you anticipate a problem with your arrival, that's really important that at the first opportunity you send a message on Telegram to Martine so that she knows that there might be a problem, so that we can rearrange your pickup at the airport. So that's really key. Obviously get to the airport early, particularly if the weather is inclement at home. Don't leave it to the last minute. Better to be at the airport an hour early and have a cup of coffee or a drink in the terminal before you leave, rather than panicking because there's a snowstorm and you can't get there. And then you're going to arrive into San Jose. And Martine, what's going to happen when they get into the San Jose airport?
Yeah, so once you get into the San Jose airport, you're going to go through customs, and they're just going to ask you where you're going. So it's good to have the name of your hotel, which is Hotel Presidente, which is downtown San Jose. They're going to then stamp your passport. You're going to go through to the area where you're going to pick up your bags. If you're coming in with a carry-on, you don't have to worry about that. Otherwise, you just have to wait for your bag. If for any reason you've lost your bag, just make sure you step at the desk. Usually now with Air Canada, it's all done online now anyways, but hopefully that will not be the case for you. Then from there, you just have to go through these machines that are just, you put your bags in and just make sure you're not coming in with any vegetables, fruits, and seeds of any kind. And then when you get to the other side, everyone and their grandparents are going to ask you if you want a taxi. So you just have to say, no, thank you, no, gracias. And then you're going to walk basically straight ahead. There's going to be a corridor. There's either left or right. You go right. You're going to go right through the corridor. You have to go until you exit this closed corridor. Once you get outside, you're going to see a sign that basically says hotel shuttles. You're going to stay in that area. And that's where our driver will come and pick you up. We will be sending you more information about that before you go, but essentially, and sharing you some numbers. But as long as you know that I am your contact person, you can always reach out to me, and I will be in touch with whoever is doing the pickup and all of that. Just know that sometimes the Wi-Fi is not the best right outside the airport. They're working on it, but you should be able to pick up free Wi-Fi in the actual airport, and you can just say, Martine, I'm on my way. I'm gonna go meet my driver now. So then I can even let them know that you're there, and then they'll come, because they're not allowed to just stay there and wait for you. They have to keep, like anywhere, they have to keep going around. So it's a good way for you to let me know when you're just about to step out of the airport and into that corridor. Just send me a message, I'm stepping out into the corridor, and then I can make sure that the driver knows that you'll be waiting under that sign that says hotel pickup, basically hotel shuttles. Okay.
There you go. So
Yeah.
that's basically what you need to know for your arrival into San Jose. So let's talk for a second, just giving you an overview of the itinerary. And again, we're not going to go through this in detail. Martine, I'll let you do that. Just a quick.
Yeah, Gordon, you might be cutting
Okay.
out, or it might be one of
No,
us
it's me.
cutting.
I just saw a
Okay.
message. So, Martina, just take them through the quick overview of the
Okay. All right,
itinerary.
everyone. So I hope you're excited, because you're seeing some of the best parts of the country. Some people don't even know about these parts because they're off the beaten path. So essentially, you're going to be starting in San Jose, which is that little red star that you see. And from there, we'll be taking a bus going towards Savegre Lodge. But before doing that, we're actually going to a coffee plantation, one of my favorite tours that there is in the country. And this is where you're going to be able to try different types of coffees, learn about how the production is made. It's a lot of fun. And on our way to Savegre Lodge, we'll be stopping at a wonderful local restaurant where you're going to be really right away introduced to the typical food of Costa Rica and some of the most beautiful views. These are the coffee beans that you're seeing right there. The next day, as soon as we get to Savegre Lodge, we're going to obviously get you all settled into your accommodations. And this is where we're going to have our first cocktail hour, where we get to meet. And I'd like to invite you to a cocktail that night. Don't let Gordon know, but I'm inviting you now. I invite you to a cocktail. And this is where we're going to be really just talking about the trip as a whole. This is where a lot of you will officially be really meeting if you haven't met the night before. And basically, this is where you'll be really able to immerse yourself into this incredible in landscape. We won't go into explaining about the hotels and everything, because that was in our first presentation, but it's a beautiful location. The next morning, quite early, my friends, this is when we go look for the quetzals. So I hope you're ready. So this is where you want to dress warmly. We're going to talk about that the night before. And we're going to be going basically at the crack of dawn looking for these wonderful birds, because they're very shy with the sun. They attract a lot of attention. So as soon as the sun is really out, they hide, because they become really preyed upon. So essentially, it's a really cool, interesting adventure that we're going to take. And I have to say that probably 99% of the time I've done this tour, we've seen the quetzals. So you're in very good chance of seeing them, but there's always that 0.01%. So I can never promise fully, but we're also going to be with some of the top guides in that area. And I've reserved one who everyone will enjoy. He's really, really knowledgeable. So hopefully we're going to get him, but all the guides are exceptional. So from there, that morning, we're going to go back and have some breakfast. And after that, I'm going to take you on another hike. It's such a great place. And this is where I'm going to introduce you to the concept of the cloud forest, which is really interesting. The next day, basically, we are heading already on the road. We're going towards the Talamanca mountain range, and we're going to a different elevation. Initially, we were very high at about 9,000 feet above sea level. We're now going at about 4,000 feet above sea level, and we're heading to one of my favorite spots in the country, a spot that not many people discover at the base of the famous Chiripo Mountain. And this area is really known for its high density of birds, and also just the greenery, the gardens, the flowers, and it's considered the best temperature on the planet. And Rio is really, not many people know about Rio Chiripo. It's one of those secret little spots. It basically is going to be mostly our group. I don't even know if there's even going to be other people. It's possible there's a few others, but in general, it'll be us. The food is remarkable. The staff is remarkable. We have access to a pool, a hot tub, the river. And here we're going to do a lot of different activities. The first one being, we're going to go see the secret gardens, which is really a secret. No, it's not a secret, but it's but it really there's not a secret. But this is where we're going to introduce you to the flowers, the tropical, the fauna, the flora of the area. We're also going to be going, I don't know what the next slide, I'm just going to see what the next slide is. Gordon, Amanda, you switch it so we can see what we're talking about here. There's the secret gardens. Maybe give me one more and let's see where we're at. Cloudbridge Reserve. Now this is an ocelot. Not that you're going to see this ocelot. I wish I could tell you're going to see this ocelot. It does live in the Cloudbridge Reserve, but the chances of you seeing that, probably you'll have more chance of getting a coconut fall on your head. So that's not going to happen. But, well, you never know. Maybe we will. But essentially these ocelots, and we have jaguars, pumas, all of these, you know, we have the quetzals are now coming back. And the reserve is really that. It was essentially farmland that they brought back into conservation. So we're going to be seeing some beautiful things there. And again, we'll talk about the level of activity and hike and all that once, like always the day before. You'll be ready. You'll know what you're getting yourself into before you get into it. After that, after Cloudbridge Reserve, let's see what the next slide is. I just want to make sure. Oh, that's okay. So obviously we're going to be doing a bunch of other amazing things in this area of the cloud forest in the area of Rio Chiripo. But now let's move on just to make it faster. We're going to Luna Lodge. We're now going to the Osa Peninsula, which is in my heart and in my mind, and also in National Geographic's mind, considered the most biologically intense place on earth. Not many people get to the Osa. Why? It's off the beaten path. People tend to stop at Manuel Antonio. They think, oh, that's south enough. I see enough animals here. I'm done. But guess what? You're going to la creme de la creme of Costa Rica. This is where all the scarlet macaws, and listen, we have the largest scarlet macaw population in all of the country. They're here. I guarantee if you don't see one, get your money back. That's how certain I am you're going to see them. You're going to see basically toucans. You're going to see there's over 800 species of birds in Costa Rica, but over 400 of them are right here on the Osa. And we have all 4 species of monkeys that's in the country. We have them on the Osa. We might even see them on the same tree. So that's how incredible it is. So here is where, obviously, like when we're in the mountains, it's going to be pampering. Think of a spa. You know, you're going to be like blown away by how beautiful it is and how relaxing and comfortable it is. Now we're going in the wild rainforest, darling. So basically, be prepared for heat, be prepared for wildlife, but also be prepared to be amazed by the just incredible beauty of Mother Nature. Let's see what the next slide is so I can. Oh, Bosque de Cabo. Yeah, this is another favorite of mine. Because you're traveling with us at Wheel and Anchor, we have access to properties that other people don't unless they stay there. So because we've made good friends with all of them over the years, we have access to them. And Bosque de Cabo is one of those places. And bosque means a forest, del Cabo on the point. So we're going to be at about 300 feet above sea level. And we're going to be doing some of the most beautiful trails where it's like a microcosm of the Osa. When you look at Bosque de Cabo is where you have all the wildlife in a tiny little spot. It's like being in a zoo, really without cages in this case. So we have seen pumas, you know, we have seen peccaries, we have seen curassows. Listen, all of this, and this is such a beautiful hike. And then we're going to have lunch, and we have a little secret for you. I'm not going to tell you here. Keep that for later. Next, let's see where it's my next slide. We're going to be, for those of you who've signed up for Corcovado National Park, and you'll have had now a good chunk of time to get comfortable with the heat, get comfortable with hiking, get comfortable with everything. This is where you can say yay or nay. If you don't want to do it, that's okay. It's prepaid, but it's okay. You don't have to do it. But I recommend it because Corcovado is really a lot of people come all the way to the Osa to go into Corcovado National Park. It takes up 2/3 of the peninsula, and it really is magical in terms of its wildlife. And once you enter there, it's like the animals know they're protected, right? There's something about that park that's quite magical. It is a harder hike because it's the more than anything is the heat and the uneven terrain. But if you feel comfortable by then to do it, definitely do it. If you don't, guess what? You can get pampered and get spa day at Luna Lodge or go hang out at the beach. There's no problem. Let's skip to the next slide and see what we have. Oh, this is one of my favorites, dolphin watching. So the Gulf of Dulce, one of the deepest tropical fjords in the world. It's an invented term because it doesn't really exist, but we have invented it on the Osa. It goes down deep, deep, deep. And in here we have whales, we have whale sharks, we have families of dolphins that live here. And the likelihood of you seeing them is quite high. So, and when we're on the Gulf of Dulce, it might just be our boat. There's not 10,000 other boats. We're not competing. They're not performing for us. It's them in their wild habitat. So it's one of my favorite tours, and that's how we're going to end our whole time together, is on the water. And I think you're all going to be so happy that you were on this trip. By this time, you won't even want to leave. You'll just want to stay.
There's
So
just
that it is.
so much stuff. Yeah, thank you for that, Martine. That's a great overview of the trip. Yeah, I mean, we just condensed this into a few minutes just to give you a sense of what to expect and how to prepare. At this point, this is a great time to ask any questions. I haven't seen any go into the chat box or the Q&A box, but if you do have questions, now is a great time. I mean, I'm talking about questions that, would be of interest to the whole group. If you have obviously specific questions relevant to your booking or your airfare, if we booked it for you or whatever, then the best is to write into our office, Paula or Aura or whoever helped you. But you can type any questions you have into the chat box. And Joan says she's trying to add Martine to Telegram account, can't find her. Martine, can you type in your Telegram handle into your username into chat? So basically,
I will.
yeah, when you go, yep.
Let me just check. I almost said don't use all. I think it's at Martine Reset. Let me try this.
It's yeah, I've got it right here actually. It's let's see. Yeah, it's at Martine Reset. So basically, if you go into your Telegram, I'll put it in, Martine. If you go into your Telegram, and then you open a chat, I don't know if you can see that there. So if you just basically open a new message, see that there, new message. I don't know if you can see that, and then you click search, and then put in exactly what I wrote there, at Martine Reset. It should come up, and you should be able to stick her in. Yeah, so we put that in there a couple times. So
well, it's because I think we've been sending it to each other and
oh,
not to
we've
the
been
whole.
sending it to each other. Yeah, but
It's
I
like
think
a
you got it
little.
to everybody now. So yeah, that's the handle for Martine. Alternatively, you can the other way to do it is you could do the other way around, is you could send your username to Martine, and Martine you can reach at martine@wheelandanchor.ca. I'll stick that in there, and I did the same thing again. I put it into I put it to everybody
It's
to
because
everyone.
you direct messages.
There we go. So I just stuck it in the chat box there. So you can always email Martine and say, oh, can you message me? And you can send her your username, which you'll find in Telegram by basically clicking on your settings. And then in settings, you'll see underneath your picture or your name, you'll see your it starts always with an @ just like in the email address. So that's how to do it. So yeah, you should be able to connect with Martine that way. So thanks for asking that, and yeah, for reaching out. So okay, so one more time, and all of this information is in the Telegram information page that we sent out. So basically, if you go into Telegram, I'll say it one more time, and then you can watch it on the recording that we'll send you. But if you basically go in, you click on chats at the bottom of the screen, then you click on new message, which is at the top right of the screen. And then it says right under the words new message, it says search. And in there, you type in Martine's username, which is at Martine Reset, as we just put there. So, and again, it's spelled out in detail in the Telegram instructions document in there.
Just
Yeah,
bother one of your grandkids. That's what I would do.
yeah,
Bother one of your grandkids. They'll do it for you. Okay. They're faster.
exactly.
I'm really bad with technology. That's why I live in the jungle. But yeah.
Exactly. Perfect. Are there any other questions before we move to close off the webinar today? I don't see any more having come in. So again, if you do have any other questions, please just drop us an email. We put Paula's email address there.
Gave them too much, Gordon. That's what happened.
Yeah, too much information. But you're welcome to email Paula, and you're also welcome to, if you have a question about logistics about the trip, you're also more than welcome to email Martine. I just put her email address in there, which is basically just her first name at wheelandanchor.ca. Either way, we will be more than happy. We want to make sure that you have all the information you need We get all your questions answered so you're ready to have the best possible time, just like all of the other members before you. So on that note, I say thank you. And thank you, Martine, for letting everybody in on all this important information for this trip.
My pleasure.
And
We're gonna have a good time. It's all about having a good time.
it's all about having a good time. Yeah. So in the meantime, Merry Christmas and happy holidays, and enjoy the festive season. And your fellow members who are here with me in Austria for the Christmas markets have all said hello. And I think some of them wish they were joining up for Costa Rica because it's a little chilly over here. But anyway, no worse than at home. So have a good time until then. Stay safe. Have a great holiday season, and have a great trip to Costa Rica and a great time with Martine, as I'm sure you will. And we will send you a copy of this webinar by email in case you want to share it with any of your friends who are coming on the trip, or keep it for future reference. So thanks again. Have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.